Chapter 1. Arriving in the new city. Hi, my name is Sarah. I am from Italy and I moved to this new city to learn English. It's my first time here and I feel both excited and nervous. The journey was long, but when the plane landed, I felt a rush of energy. The city is big, loud, and full of life. It's so different from my hometown, but I like it already. At the airport, I saw people speaking English everywhere. Some words I understood, but many words sounded new and fast. I tried to listen carefully, but it was a little confusing. Still, I told myself, this is why I am here, to learn. I took a deep breath and followed the signs to get a taxi. The driver was friendly. He asked me where I wanted to go, and I showed him the address on my phone. "Welcome to the city," he said with a smile. His kind words made me feel less nervous. The drive to my apartment was exciting. I saw tall buildings, colorful lights, and so many people on the streets. Everything was new and interesting. I couldn't stop looking out the window. When we arrived at my apartment, I thanked the driver and carried my suitcase inside. The building was small but cozy. My new home was on the 3rd floor. I opened the door and saw my roommate Layla waiting for me. She was smiling and said, "Hi, you must be Sarah. Welcome." Layla is from Turkey, and she is also here to learn English. We talked for a while, mixing English and a few words from our own languages. It felt good to know that I wasn't alone. Layla showed me around the apartment and helped me settle in. "We're going to have a great time here," she said. I smiled and nodded. The next morning, I woke up early for my first day at the language school. I felt a little nervous, but also excited. Layla wished me luck before I left. The school was a short walk from my apartment. On the way, I saw many people rushing to work, buying coffee, and talking on their phones. The streets were busy, and there was so much to see. I noticed a small bakery and thought, I should try their bread someday. When I reached the school, the receptionist welcomed me and gave me my schedule. She spoke slowly and clearly, which helped me understand. I went to my classroom and found a seat near the window. Soon, other students started arriving. They all looked friendly but a little nervous, like me. Our teacher, Ms. Taylor, walked in with a big smile. "Good morning, everyone. My name is Ms. Taylor, and I'll be your teacher. Let's get to know each other," she said. She asked each of us to stand up and introduce ourselves. When it was my turn, I felt shy, but I stood up and said, "Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm from Italy, and I'm here to learn English." Ms. Taylor smiled and said, "Welcome, Sarah. We're happy to have you." I met students from many different countries, Jack from Germany, Amina from Morocco, and Carlos from Brazil. We all wanted to learn English, and it felt good to be part of a group. Ms. Taylor asked us to talk about why we wanted to learn English. I said, I want to travel and talk to people from different countries. Amina said she wanted to get a better job, and Jack said he loved English movies and wanted to understand them without subtitles. After class, I walked home feeling happy. The first day was better than I expected. Layla and I cooked dinner together that evening. We practiced English while we cooked. "Pass me the salt, please," she said. "Here you go," I replied. We laughed and talked about our day. It was a simple but fun moment. As I lay in bed that night, I thought about my first day. I knew I had a lot to learn, but I also knew I was in the right place. This city, this school, and these new experiences were the beginning of my journey. I felt excited to see what tomorrow would bring. Chapter 2. Making New Friends. The second day started with a bright morning. I woke up early, eager to go back to school. Layla was already up, sipping her coffee and reading a book. "Good morning, Sarah," she said. "Ready for day 2? I nodded, smiling. I grabbed a quick breakfast and headed out the door. The walk to school felt familiar now, and I noticed new things. A street musician playing the guitar, a woman selling flowers, and children laughing on their way to school. When I arrived at the classroom, I saw some of my classmates chatting. Jack waved at me and said, "Hi, Sarah, how are you?" I smiled and replied, "I'm good, thank you. How are you?" It felt nice to speak English, even if the sentences were simple. Miss Taylor walked in and greeted everyone. "Good morning. Today we'll focus on conversations. Let's learn how to talk about ourselves and ask questions." Ms. Taylor paired us up for an activity. I was paired with Carlos. "Hi, Sarah," he said. "Nice to meet you again." "Nice to meet you too," I replied. Ms. Taylor gave us a list of questions to practice, like, "Where are you from?" and "What do you like to do?" Carlos and I took turns asking and answering. I learned that he loved football and wanted to visit Italy someday. I told him about my favorite Italian dishes, and he said he wanted to try them all. After the activity, Ms. Taylor asked us to share what we learned about our partners. "Carlos loves football and wants to visit Italy," I said. Everyone laughed when Carlos added, "and eat all the pasta." The class felt warm and friendly, and I started to feel more comfortable speaking English. During the break, Amina came over and said, "Hi, Sarah. Do you want to join us?" She was sitting with a group of classmates, and I happily joined them. We talked about our home countries and our first impressions of the city. Amina shared stories about Morocco's beautiful deserts, and Hiroshi, another classmate, told us about Japan's cherry blossoms. It was amazing to hear about different cultures while practicing English. In the afternoon, we had a group activity. Ms. Taylor gave us a topic: your favorite memory. Each group had to discuss and share their memories. Our group included Jack, Amina, and Carlos. I shared a story about visiting Venice with my family and taking a gondola ride. Jack talked about a hiking trip in the German Alps. Amina described a big family gathering, and Carlos told us about his first football match. We laughed and listened, learning not just English, but also about each other. After class, Amina and I decided to grab coffee at a nearby cafe. The place was cozy, with soft music playing in the background. We ordered in English, and the barista smiled, understanding us easily. "This city is so different from home," Amina said. "But I like it. Everyone is so kind." I agreed, sharing how I loved the energy of the city and how much I was learning. As we sipped our coffee, we talked about our goals. Amina wanted to work in international business, and I shared my dream of becoming a travel writer. "That's amazing," she said. "You'll get to see the world and share your stories." Her encouragement made me feel confident. That evening, Layla and I decided to explore the neighborhood. We found a small park with a playground and a fountain. Children were playing, and some adults were jogging or walking their dogs. It was peaceful, and we sat on a bench, talking about our day. Layla told me about her classmates and how she practiced speaking with them. "It's not easy," she said, "but every day I feel a little better." Before heading home, we stopped by a bakery we had noticed earlier. The smell of fresh bread and pastries filled the air. We bought some croissants for breakfast and chatted with the baker, who was kind and patient with our English. It was another small but meaningful moment. At home, I reflected on the day. I had made new friends, learned more English, and experienced the joy of connecting with people. It felt like the city was becoming less strange and more familiar. I was no longer just a visitor. I was starting to feel like I belonged. With a smile, I drifted off to sleep, ready for whatever tomorrow would bring. Chapter 3: Exploring the City. The weekend arrived, and I was excited to explore the city. Layla and I had made plans to visit some famous spots and experience more of what this bustling place had to offer. The morning was crisp and sunny as we set out. "Where should we go first?" Layla asked. I pulled out a small map and pointed to the main square. "Let's start here," I said. "We can explore from there." The square was alive with activity. Street performers played music, vendors sold colorful souvenirs, and tourists gathered to take pictures. A man was playing the violin near a fountain, and his music filled the air. "This is beautiful," Layla said. I nodded, mesmerized by the sound. We took a few pictures and then decided to visit a nearby market. The market was bustling with energy. There were stalls selling fruits, vegetables, clothes, and handmade crafts. Layla stopped at a stall selling scarves. She picked up a bright red one and asked, "How much is this?" The vendor smiled and said, $15. Layla handed him the money, and he wrapped the scarf for her. "This will remind me of today," she said with a grin. As we wandered through the market, we practiced speaking English with the vendors. I bought a small notebook to jot down my thoughts and memories. "Do you write often?" the vendor asked. "Yes, I love writing," I replied. It felt good to have a short conversation and use the language I was learning. After the market, we decided to grab lunch at a small cafe nearby. The menu was in English, and we took our time reading it. "What will you have?" Layla asked. "Maybe a sandwich and some tea," I said. We placed our orders and enjoyed the cozy atmosphere of the cafe. The food was delicious, and we practiced more English while talking about our plans for the rest of the day. In the afternoon, we visited a park Layla had read about. It was large and filled with people enjoying the sunny weather. There were kids playing, couples walking hand in hand, and families having picnics. We found a quiet spot under a tree and sat down. "This is nice," Layla said. "It feels peaceful here." We practiced describing what we saw in English. "The children are playing with a ball," I said. "The trees are tall and green," Layla added. It was a simple exercise, but it helped us notice our surroundings and use new words. We also tried talking about our favorite parks back home. Layla told me about a park near her house in Cairo, and I described a park I loved in Madrid. As the day went on, we decided to visit a bookstore we had seen earlier. The store was quiet and smelled of books and coffee. I was drawn to the section for English learners. "Look at this," I said, picking up a book with simple stories for beginners. "This could help us practice." Layla found a book of English idioms and laughed as she flipped through it. "Some of these are so funny," she said. We each bought a book and promised to share what we learned. On the way back, we talked about how much we had already improved. "I feel like I can understand more," Layla said. "Me too," I agreed. "And it's nice to practice in real-life situations." In the evening, we decided to cook dinner together. We had bought some fresh vegetables and pasta at the market. As we cooked, we continued practicing English. "Can you pass me the salt?" Layla asked. "Here it is," I replied. We laughed when we made mistakes, helping each other find the right words. After dinner, we sat down with our new books. Layla read out some idioms, and we tried to guess their meanings. "Break the ice," she said. "It means to start a conversation," I guessed. She nodded, smiling. "Exactly." It was a fun way to learn and end the day. As I got ready for bed, I thought about everything we had done. Exploring the city, practicing English, and making memories with a new friend. It felt like I was truly living in the moment. I knew there was so much more to discover, and I was eager for what the next day would bring. With that thought, I drifted off to sleep, feeling happy and content. Chapter 4. Joining a new club. A few days later, Layla told me about an English-speaking club she had heard about. "It's a group that meets every week to practice English," she said excitedly. "We should join. It could help us improve and make new friends." I hesitated for a moment, but then agreed. The idea of practicing English in a group sounded both exciting and a little nerve-wracking. The club met on Saturday afternoons at a local community center. When we arrived, the room was already filled with people chatting in English. Some were beginners like us, while others spoke fluently. A friendly woman named Emma greeted us at the door. "Welcome. Is this your first time here?" she asked. "Yes," I replied. "We're new to the city and looking to practice English." Emma smiled warmly. "You've come to the right place. We're glad to have you here." The session began with a short introduction. Emma, the organizer, explained the day's activities. "We'll start with a warm-up game, then split into smaller groups for discussions," she said. The warm-up game involved introducing ourselves and sharing one interesting fact. When it was my turn, I said, "Hello, I'm Marco. I'm from Madrid, and I love writing stories." Layla introduced herself too, saying she enjoyed cooking and exploring new places. The group clapped after each introduction, which made us feel welcome. In the discussion groups, we were given a topic to talk about. "What is your favorite place in your home country, and why?" I spoke about a small beach near my hometown, describing its golden sand and crystal-clear water. Layla talked about the pyramids in Egypt and how they were a symbol of her country's history. The others in our group shared stories about their favorite places, and it was fascinating to learn about different cultures. Even though we made mistakes while speaking, everyone was supportive and patient. After the discussions, Emma asked for volunteers to share what their groups had talked about. Layla volunteered, and I was impressed by her courage. She summarized our group's discussion and spoke confidently. I clapped along with the others, feeling proud of her. Next, we played a game called Two Truths and a Lie. Each person had to say 3 statements, and the others had to guess which one was the lie. It was a fun and interactive way to practice speaking and listening. When it was my turn, I said, "I've visited 5 countries, I've never eaten sushi, and I can play the guitar." The group guessed correctly that I couldn't play the guitar, and we all laughed. During the break, we mingled with other members of the club. A man named Ahmed from Morocco shared his tips for learning English. "I listen to podcasts every day," he said. "They help me understand different accents and learn new words." A woman named Sarah from Canada encouraged us to watch movies in English without subtitles. "It's hard at first, but it gets easier," she assured us. After the break, we had a role-playing activity. Each pair was given a scenario to act out in English. Layla and I had to pretend we were shopping in a store. "Excuse me, how much is this shirt?" I asked, pretending to be the customer. Layla, playing the shop assistant, replied, "It's $20. Would you like to try it on?" We stumbled a bit, but managed to complete the dialogue. The group clapped and gave us feedback, which helped us learn. As the session came to an end, Emma encouraged us to come back next week. "Practice makes perfect," she said. "The more you speak, the more confident you'll become." Layla and I agreed that we would return. We thanked Emma and said goodbye to the friends we had made that day. On the way home, we talked about how much we had learned. "It's so nice to meet people who are also learning English," Layla said. "It makes me feel less alone." I nodded. "And it's fun to practice in a group. I feel more confident already." That evening, I wrote about our experience in my journal. Joining the club had been a big step, and I was proud of us for taking it. I looked forward to the next session and the chance to learn even more. For the first time, I felt that speaking English was not just a goal, but an exciting journey filled with opportunities and new friendships. Chapter 5: Exploring the City. The following weekend, Layla and I decided to explore more of the city. We wanted to practice our English by interacting with people in real-life situations. Layla suggested we visit the downtown area, which was known for its markets, cafes, and cultural attractions. We started our day at a bustling street market. The air was filled with the aroma of freshly baked bread, roasted coffee, and street food. Each stall offered something unique: handmade jewelry, colorful scarves, books, and fresh produce. Layla and I decided to try speaking English with the vendors. At one stall, I saw a beautiful journal with a leather cover. "Excuse me," I said to the vendor, "how much is this journal?" The man smiled and replied, "It's $10. Would you like to buy it?" I nodded and said, "Yes, please." "It's perfect for writing my stories." As I handed him the money, he said, "Good choice. Enjoy your writing." I felt a small boost of confidence from the interaction. Layla stopped at a fruit stand where the vendor was selling ripe strawberries. "How much are these?" she asked. "They're $3 per box," the woman replied. Layla smiled and said, "I'll take 2 boxes, please." After buying the strawberries, she turned to me and said, "That wasn't so hard, was it?" I laughed and agreed. Each small conversation felt like a step forward. After the market, we walked to a nearby cafe for lunch. It was a cozy place with wooden tables and large windows that let in plenty of sunlight. We looked at the menu and practiced reading the names of dishes out loud. When the waiter came to take our order, I said, "I'll have the chicken sandwich and a cup of tea, please." Layla ordered a salad and an iced coffee. The waiter smiled and said, "Great choices. I'll bring your order soon." While we waited for our food, Layla and I talked about our favorite dishes from our home countries. She described the flavors of Egyptian koshari, a dish made with rice, lentils, and pasta. I told her about Spanish paella, a flavorful rice dish with seafood. We realized that sharing our cultures was another way to practice English. After lunch, we visited a museum nearby. The exhibits showcased the history and culture of the city. At the entrance, we spoke to the receptionist to buy tickets. "2 tickets, please," I said. The receptionist handed us the tickets and gave us a brochure. "Enjoy your visit," she said warmly. Inside the museum, we walked through different galleries. There were artifacts, paintings, and photographs that told stories about the city's past. We read the descriptions in English, taking our time to understand the words. One exhibit featured a collection of old photographs. "Look at this one," Layla said, pointing to a black and white photo of a bustling market from decades ago. It's amazing to see how things have changed. We also joined a guided tour that was conducted in English. The guide spoke clearly, and we tried to follow along as she explained the significance of each exhibit. At the end of the tour, Layla asked a question about one of the paintings. The guide answered in detail, and I was impressed by Layla's confidence. As the day went on, we realized how much we had learned just by exploring the city. Every interaction, whether at the market, the cafe, or the museum, had been an opportunity to practice English. We felt proud of ourselves for stepping out of our comfort zones. On our way home, we stopped at a bookstore. Layla wanted to buy a book in English to improve her reading skills. After browsing for a while, she chose a beginner's novel. I picked up a book of short stories. The cashier complimented our choices, saying, "These are great books for learning English." That evening, we sat in our living room, reflecting on the day. "I feel like we learned a lot today," Layla said. "Not just English, but also about the city and its culture." I agreed. It's amazing how much you can gain from small conversations and experiences. Before going to bed, I wrote in my new journal about our day. Exploring the city had been more than just a fun outing. It had been a valuable lesson in language and confidence. I looked forward to more adventures and more opportunities to grow, both as a language learner and as a person. Chapter 6. A New Beginning. The following week, Layla and I began to feel more at home in the city. Each day brought new opportunities to practice English and grow more confident. We decided to set goals for ourselves to stay motivated. Layla's goal was to improve her pronunciation, while mine was to expand my vocabulary. Our language school was bustling with activities. Ms. Carter announced a class project where we would work in groups to create a presentation about our home countries. Layla and I teamed up with Marco from Italy and Priya from India. We spent the week preparing, gathering pictures, and practicing our speeches. One afternoon, we met at the library to finalize our project. Layla showed a picture of the pyramids and said, "This is the Great Pyramid of Giza, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world." Marco shared a photo of Venice and explained, "This is the Grand Canal. It is like a water street, and people use boats instead of cars." Priya described the colorful festivals in India, saying, "This is Diwali, the festival of lights. It's a time for family, food, and celebrations." When it was my turn, I talked about the famous beaches in Spain. "This is Costa del Sol," I said, showing a picture of golden sand and clear blue water. "It's a place where people go to relax and enjoy the sun." As we practiced, we helped each other with pronunciation and grammar. It was a fun and educational experience. On the day of the presentation, I felt nervous but prepared. Our group went last. As I stood in front of the class, I took a deep breath and began my part. Spain is known for its beautiful beaches, delicious food, and vibrant culture, I said. The words flowed more easily than I expected, and I felt proud of my progress. Our classmates clapped when we finished, and Ms. Carter praised our teamwork and effort. That evening, Layla and I decided to celebrate. We cooked dinner together, a mix of dishes from our home countries. She made koshari, and I prepared Spanish omelets. As we ate, we talked about our experiences and the people we had met. "It's amazing how much we've learned in such a short time," Layla said. "We've grown so much, not just in English but as individuals." The next day, Ms. Carter gave us a new challenge, a class debate. Each team would choose a topic and present arguments. Our team picked why learning English is important. We brainstormed ideas and practiced presenting them. "English connects people from all over the world," I said during our practice. "It opens doors to education, jobs, and travel." Layla added, "It's not just a language. It's a way to understand and appreciate different cultures." The debate was lively and exciting. Each team shared their ideas, and we learned from one another. When it was over, Ms. Carter said, "You all did a wonderful job. Debates like these help you think critically and express your ideas clearly." Outside of class, Layla and I continued exploring the city. We visited a community center that hosted events for English learners. One evening, we joined a storytelling session. Participants shared personal stories in English, and we listened attentively. When it was my turn, I talked about my journey from Spain to the city and how it had changed my life. The audience smiled and clapped, and I felt a sense of accomplishment. As the weeks went by, Layla and I became more confident in our English skills. We joined a book club, attended workshops, and even volunteered at local events. Each activity brought new challenges and rewards. I began to notice how much more natural English felt. I could express myself without overthinking and understood conversations more easily. One day, Ms. Carter pulled me aside after class. "You've made incredible progress, Adam," she said. "Your hard work and dedication are paying off." Her words filled me with pride and motivation to keep learning. At home that evening, Layla and I reflected on our journey. "Do you remember how nervous we were on our first day here?" she asked, laughing. "Now we're presenting in class, making new friends, and exploring the city like locals." "It's been an amazing journey," I replied. "And it's just the beginning. There's still so much to learn and experience." Before going to bed, I wrote in my journal about everything I had achieved. Learning English had been challenging, but it had also been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. I thought about all the people who had helped me along the way, my teachers, classmates, and new friends. They had made the journey not just educational, but also joyful. As I closed my journal, I felt grateful for the opportunities I had been given. My time in the city had transformed me, not just as an English learner, but as a person. I was ready to take on new challenges, meet new people, and continue growing. My adventure was far from over, and I couldn't wait to see what the future held.